Darin Newsom from DTN is our marketing analyst this week. We talked with Darin Thursday at the Nebraska Soybean Day and Machinery Expo held at the Saunders County Fairgrounds in Wahoo. The Fed has announced they'll start tapering. How big of a deal is that as it relates to agriculture?
You know, in the long run, it could be because there was this assumption that we were going to see the Fed start to raise interest rates, say in 2014. Right now, with this idea that we're going to bring a slower end to tapering, there's really more talk that we're not going to see that interest rate bump, that maybe not until 15, possibly as late as 2016. And if that's the case, all of this investment money that's been leaving the commodity sector, say for the last 2 or 3 years, could start to come back short term. They're going to look for markets with bullish fundamentals. So it's not just going to be a widespread buying back into commodities, into grains, but they could certainly start to pick and choose those markets that do have bullish fundamentals to put some money into.
You've been looking at stocks for a long time and doing math to try and figure out where the numbers actually are. I'll just toss it up for you here.
Right.
Sound off on what you think is actually in place.
Well, right now, if we look at USDA's demand projections for corn for the 13-14 marketing year, it looks way overblown, well overestimated. And even with that, we still see ending stocks in that 1.7 to 1.9 billion bushel range. But let's say that all 4 key categories of corn demand are overestimated. We could easily push ending stocks back over 2 billion bushels, much higher than that possibly, raising ending stocks to use up to almost or above 20%. The last time we were there was before the beginning of the demand market. We'd have to go back to 2004, 2005, before this whole RFS program kicked in, before the changes at the Board of Trade allowed more investment to come into corn and the other markets. So certainly a very interesting situation that has the corn vulnerable as we head towards the January report.
More importantly, probably in soybeans, where the USDA last month, or last week, I guess, said that ending stocks were around 150 million bushels. Do you think that's accurate?
No, not at all. And I really don't know that anyone believes that number. In fact, they brought it down 15 million bushels from the previous month. But what they haven't done yet is they haven't accounted for all of the exports that we saw in the 2012-13 marketing year. It still doesn't match up with their own weekly export sales and shipment numbers. So, we've still got some wiggle room there. I'm guessing it's at least another 10, 15 million bushel less than that as far as U.S. ending stocks. And if we look at how the market's been behaving, we still see a great deal of demand coming from China. The market's still quite strong. We need to see if it's going to be strong enough to support the rest of the ag complex once we get into 14.
How do we end 13? Do you think quietly, or do people maybe try to exit?
I think a lot of it is the market's probably just going to end quietly. The year's going to end quietly. Then the key is all of this corn that was reportedly produced in 2014, when does it start to come onto the market? Is it the group that is just looking to sell when there's a new year? Or are they going to sit back and wait for a better price? So one of those two events is going to happen. If it's the latter, then I think we see some strength in the market through the first quarter. If it's the former, if they're just waiting for 2014 to come, we could start the year off with a bang and we could immediately start to see some basis weakness.
Possibly in less than a month, the South American crop could be ready for harvest. What's your impression of what that crop looks like? Right
now, everyone you hear, even from our DTN contributing writers and reporters from the area, everyone's looking for a huge crop. The common theme seems to be 90 million metric tons in Brazil, 58 million metric tons production of soybeans in Argentina. We've accounted for those numbers right now, and the future spreads in soybeans really haven't changed all that much. But again, once we get into the actual harvest, and once we get the logistics taken care of in South America, so it's going to take a while to get things to port, going to take a while to get ports, ships out of port. Once that actually starts to move, the beans actually start to flow, that's when we can start to see the market break here in the U.S.